Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Sharice Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And we encourage you to go to the website. There is an education tab on the navigation bar there. And when you click on that, there'll be a drop down and one says useful guides. And these are great. These are things that you can download about lots of different topics about Medicares and 401ks and pensions and going it alone and all sorts of different things that you can take a look at there, getting prepared for retirement. And that's actually where we're going to go now. And we're going to get a little help from a comedian here. Tom Papa is doing a stand-up, and he's been doing stand-up since 1993, but he's got a new Netflix special called Home Free, where he says, there have been some changes at my house and some changes in my life.
We dropped off my last daughter, my last child, my youngest, off at college, and they're all gone now. And nobody tells you how hard it's going to be pretending to be sad. Not one tear. Not one tear. I really thought I was going to cry. I feel so bad. But I think I might be happier than I've ever been.
That is okay. That is funny. That's a man's version, number one. I want to hear the female version because, sorry.
It's all
so he's
different.
talking for the man. He's totally talking for the man.
Well, don't get too giddy, Tom, because they do come back. I can tell you that from experience. All right. So he's trying to get ready for, the next phase of his life. And that's really what this show is all about, because retirement is the next phase that we're trying to get ready for. So there are things that we can do. We sit down with someone like you, Sharice, and certainly we want to kind of, map that path out. But there are things that we can do, 5-10 years before retirement that just kind of get us ready for that. Can we get a little list here from you of things that you can see?
So I would start with the goal in retirement is to have less bills so you can spend more money on you and your loved ones and travel, right? So do you or don't you pay off the mortgage? And I've always been a fan of paying off the mortgage. And this is why it's really important to sit with us before you retire if you can, because as taxes change, my verdict on that could change. So for example, if your standard deductions are going to half in 2026 and tax brackets are going up, a lot of people out there are going to be itemizing again and not taking the standard deduction. And as you know now, the above the line write-offs, when you're doing your standard deductions, there's not a lot there. But when you're itemizing, you can write off the interest up to a certain amount on your home mortgages. And if interest rates are low, there's this thing called arbitrage. And let's say your interest rates are at 3.5%, but you can take those dollars when you're paying off your debt and go make 6.5%. So things are changing in that world a little bit. But no matter what I say to people, yes, don't pay off that 3.5% mortgage. People want that Mr. Pillow, sleep at night pillow that just says, but I wanna pay it off. And you know what? I get it. Paying off the mortgage just makes you feel good. It's one thing you have to worry about. And I know that a lot of people want to pay that mortgage off because if one of you pass away, we lose one of the Social Security checks and we don't want to have this debt over our heads. We want it all taken care of. So I lean towards, even when I do the math on taxes and the cash arbitrage where you can make more money, I still do lean, pay it off because we don't know how long we're going to live. And it is a burden to have to worry about it. And it's just this, even though you can make more money by not paying it off, it's like it's something that you're never ever going to get rid of. It's always going to be there in the right side of your brain and it's always going to stress you out. So I want you to enter retirement stress free. And I already know if you don't have it paid off, you're not going to be totally stress free. So might as well get working on it. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a check. I'm checking it off right now. Pay the mortgage off. Unless we get really granular when you come in and see us. Number 2, this is an absolute. Credit cards. Pay your credit cards off. Do not enter retirement with credit card debt. I have met some people that have entered retirement with $30,000 to $50,000 in credit card debt. Why do you want to worry about paying that off in retirement? Pay it off when you have income checks from your employer coming in. Be more responsible. Now, if you have credit cards, and your plan is to pay it off, and you're doing this cash interest rate arbitrage, and you're rolling, let's say you got 20,000 in credit card debt from one credit card to another credit card that has no interest, that's a different story, right? There's kind of a strategy there, as long as those credit cards are offering you zero interest. So this is nothing I'm telling you to go do. This is just a conversation that we have in our office. But again, I still am going to check off, pay your credit cards off, unless we come up with a well-oiled machine and plan on those credit cards. But typically, pay them off. The third one is know how much you currently spend per month on your budget. So when you come in and see us, I take inventory. Our staff takes inventory. The other advisors take inventory. And what does that mean? What are all your liabilities? What are going to be your lifer liabilities? And we know, I call liability, we got to pay an electric bill. We got to pay a grocery bill. We have to pay gas, right? Because you're always going to have to pay those things. This is why those other bigger liabilities like car payments and mortgages are best to get those off the balance sheet. So what are those things that are going to be constant and always the same and going up with inflation? And then we want to take inventory on your income. Do we have Social Security? How much? Do we both get Social Security? Is there a pension? If you both have a pension, great. If one of you have a pension, and what happens if they pass away? Does it pass to the spouse? Does 50% pass to the spouse? What do we have to plan for in case somebody does pass away earlier for the income needs, so that the surviving spouse doesn't become financially destitute, and so that they don't have to change their lifestyle? That would be awful, right? So, but you have to plan for that budget and how to. Number 4, this is the big one. I tell everybody this one: create a Social Security account, especially as you're nearing the ages of 62. Do you know there's scams out there where people are creating a Social Security login for you? And let's say you're not going to take your Social Security to 67. People are collecting your Social Security at 62. What do you know?
Oh, no.
Yes. So the sooner the better. I don't care how old you are. You should have a Social Security login. And, you could be 40, you could be 30. Even though it's not that big of a deal at that age, it's like right in those Social Security ages, 62, 67, 70, you really got to have those just so nobody's collecting off you. It's amazing how many times that has happened. So make sure you're protected from the Social Security scan. And I will forewarn you, when you go to the Social Security website, it's going to ask you 5 questions, and I'm almost going to tell you, you'll miss one of them, and then you'll be locked out for 24 hours. Just go back in, be patient. Trust me, you're going to be yelling at your screen, and your spouse is going to be like, what are you yelling about? I'm like, this stinking Social Security site doesn't work. Trust me, I've done it myself.
Okay.
I've been locked out like 3 times my first time I did it. So I feel the pain for you all. So just do that. Do me a favor and do that. Okay, number 5, signing up for Medicare when you're 65. So we know that Medicare is automatic. When you turn 65, you're going to get your beautiful red, white, and blue card, and you have Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. But if you're working with an employer, these are conversations we're going to have with you. Sometimes your employer says, hey, you are required to get Medicare Part B. And some employers like, no, just take your A. And they cover the rest with their insurance. So knowing the language and what you should and shouldn't do is very, very critical. So make sure you're coming in and talking to us about your Medicare. We're in Medicare season. I feel like we're always in Medicare season because somebody's always turning 65, quite a few people every day across the country. So we help people with that. I will go into number 6, IRAs and Roth IRAs. Doing the math. Should you be rolling your IRAs right now while we're in the lowest marginal tax bracket we're ever going to see in history to a Roth IRA? And I'm going to let you in on a secret that most people don't know. You can do that at any age. If you have a 401k and you're 40, you can, as long as it's a rollover, you can roll over IRAs to a Roth. And you don't have a penalty. You just have to pay the tax bill for it that year, right? So again, we have specialized, I have 2, just to double check and triple check everything we're doing. Tax softwares where we take your tax return and we upload everything. And then we start to figure out the math on, okay, do you have to pay quarterly taxes? Yes or no? Can we roll an IRA to Roth? Yes or no? And can you contribute to a Roth? Yes or no, depending on wages. And then how much of our IRA should we contribute to a Roth? I did 6 tax plans this past week, and 2 of them, it actually didn't make sense to roll their IRAs to Roth. And I had to explain why. And they went, whoa, I didn't think you would ever say that. And we did the math. I was like, it doesn't move the needle. It doesn't make sense. It is based on how much they saved in that IRA, to be honest with you. So that's a game changer. It makes a big difference. So making sure while taxes are down right now, standard deductions are up, taxes are down in 2026. That's all going to change, right? Possibly and more likely, yes. Start doing it while taxes are on sale right now. You have this year and you have next year to roll as much as you can, and maybe do it before you hit the next tax bracket, or maybe you can afford the next tax bracket. Maybe it's only 2 pennies more, right? 2 cents more, depending where you land. Let's do the math and find out. And listen, if you're listening now, come December 1st, it's probably going to be too late because we're slammed. We are slammed. I'm overworked right now, but I'm excited about it. It's fun. It's fun stuff for us. So number 7, choosing a financial professional and developing a financial plan. Randy, what do you think about that?
That's the most important thing of all. That's where I say call Charisse.
Ingenious. So how in the world can you be confident about entering retirement? And if you're in retirement, like you're hearing me, you're probably like, oh gosh, okay, maybe she's right. Without a written plan, without seeing that tax plan on paper, should I or should I not? Should I gift or should I give to charity? Should I do QCDs? Like, how do you know if you haven't done the math to find out? And then how in the world can you be confident about your income plan and when one spouse is alive, and then the inheritance plan without the written plan, right? So I've been doing this for years. Our advisor's been doing it for years. And if I knew nothing and I was about to retire, I get it. Like, who would have known that all these steps, all these things really need to be done to protect your confidence? We're here to protect your confidence so that you make better decisions as we're getting a little bit older and we're entering these different phases of life. So just know that. I think that's really important. And last but not least, and this is one people forget, Randy, choose a estate planner and develop a will or a trust. What do you think about that one, Randy?
Well, I mean, that is one of the reasons that you have the Financial Services Center, so that people have access not only to helping people with their investments, but also their taxes and also their estate planning. You've developed those partnerships with people throughout the area over the years, and people have access to it.
Exactly. We've had quite a few deaths in our office. Some really close clients of mine. They've been clients for over 10 years. One of them for 20 years. And you know what they confide and tell me? They're like, we are so happy that you pushed us to meet with your attorney and get the wills and trust done, and everything's baked in. Thank you for the checklist, because, you know, this is what we're about to embark in now that somebody's passing away or in hospice or about to. So having that person you can rely on that understands every version about what you're about to go through is critically important. And making sure you have that will done, that is an absolute number one. Power of attorneys, healthcare surrogates are right there with my number one. And then figuring out what kind of trust do we need? Do we need a revocable trust, an irrevocable trust? Do we build in the asset protection trust? Do we do that sooner? Do we do that later? Do you need a dynasty trust? I'm telling you, the pour over wills, there's a lot of decisions you have to make. Number one, to protect your assets in case, you hurt somebody while you're driving, but also to protect the surviving spouse and to protect the legacy to your heirs. I mean, come on, they're going to be stuck with this huge debt. I mean, the government is just, we're in a huge deficit. Who's going to pay for it? We're paying for it now. Your parents are paying for it now, but the beneficiaries, you're certainly going to be paying for this. And you're going to be like, dang it, I wish we would have planned a little better. I wish we would have talked to mom and dad and understood this tax consequence now we have to deal with. So having those conversations and deciding if you want your legacy passing on to your kiddos and your grandkids and family tax-free or all taxable. I think that is a big conversation when it comes to the estate plan.
Well, it's a great list. Things that we can do to get ready for retirement. And these are things you can start doing, 10 years before retirement, 5 years before retirement, 3 years before retirement. Pay off the mortgage, pay off the credit cards, know what your monthly budget is, create that Social Security account, sign up for Medicare, do the math on that 401k, those IRAs. They are a tax time bomb. Are we going to move some money over to a Roth? Find your financial professional, that financial advisor in your life to develop this plan, and then Along with that, have that estate planner taking care of the essential legal documents of your life, which would be a will and a trust and a medical directive, the power of attorney, all of those things. So vitally important. And these are the things we said the word confidence a lot on the show today. We want you to go into retirement with confidence. And if you have all of this locked down, how could you not have more confidence going into retirement? Give us a look on our website. Give us a call. ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. You'll see a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that. We'll ask you a few questions. Our team will reach out to you, or you can reach out to us. 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Coffee Talk podcast. If you have questions or would like to begin the process of building a tailored retirement plan, call Zinnia Wealth at 833-368-3680 or find us online at ZinniaWealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. The firm only conducts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded from registration requirements. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Insurance products are offered through Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC, Florida license L078655, and Sharice Rivers, Florida license P037744. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, and Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC are affiliated entities. The information presented is believed to be current. It should not be viewed as personalized investment advice. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the presenter on the date of the podcast and are subject to change. The information presented is not an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation of any offer to buy or sell any of the securities discussed. You should consult with a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Any legal or tax information provided in this podcast is general in nature. Always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation. Any client experience discussed on this show are unique to that client. Annuity and life insurance guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. If you withdraw money from or surrender your contract within a certain time after investing, the insurance company may assess a surrender charge. Withdrawals may be subject to tax penalties and income taxes. Persons selling annuities or other insurance products receive compensation for these transactions. These commissions are separate and distinct from fees charged for advisory services. Insurance products also contain additional fees and expenses. Social Security rules and regulations are subject to change at any time. Always consult with your local Social Security office before acting upon any information provided herein. References to specific investments should not be construed as being past specific recommendations. The returns for various indices discussed in this podcast do not represent the performance of the firm or any of its advisory clients. Returns do not reflect the impact that advisory fees will have on an investment. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All investment strategies have potential for profit or loss. Different types of investments involve higher and lower levels of risk. There is no guarantee that a specific investment strategy will be suitable or profitable for an investor's portfolio. Historical performance returns for investment indexes and or categories usually do not deduct transaction and or custodial charges or advisory fees, which would decrease historical performance results. There are no guarantees that a portfolio will match or outperform a specific benchmark. Investments in fixed income products are subject to liquidity risk, market risk, index rate risk, credit risk, inflation risk, purchasing power risk, and taxation risk. Because bond prices fluctuate continually, their yields change constantly.